Welcome to the Summer Club. Welcome. I'm Ann Litt. I'm so excited you can join us for our first ever event in our Summer Club series, which is This Album Saved My Teenage Years. And the hard thing about this is that I picked about 30 albums. So there's that. Anyway, a giant thank you to all of you guys. Thank you so much for supporting KCRW and for being here in these totally bananas time. And honestly, you have no idea how much that means to us. It's just been, I don't know, it's just been a time that we've all been trying to figure out what's next. And to be able to get to everybody and get to everyone and get together with everyone and I don't know, just have a moment is really awesome. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to jump on the chat because there's a chat going on, and I want you to let us know what songs or albums resonated with your teenage self. All of the DJs who are here tonight have chosen some. And as a reminder, we are recording this whole thing and we're posting it to our website after the fact. So if your friends miss it, or if anybody misses it and you want to get on and they want to check it out later, it's all good. So I think we should definitely get into it. I'm going to open up my chat so I can see what you guys are putting out in there.
Hey, Ann.
Hey.
So in the lead up to this event, many of the DJs shared photos of their teenage self. Noticeably, you did not. So I feel kind of cheated. You need to come correct with the teenage photo of Ann Litt.
JB, here's the situation. I know this. I'm actually in Virginia right now with my family on vacation. And I cannot find any pictures anywhere. I've asked my sister. I have asked my friends. By the end of tonight, I will find something. I promise. I knew you were going to call me out on that because, by the way, I loved yours.
Yeah. That was right in the desk drawer in front of me when I got the email to send along a photo. I was able to just reach into that, one of those everything drawers with pens and random things. And there it was, the teenage me.
Jason, I only wish I had known you then. And why am I not surprised that you had that in your drawer, right? Accessible, just so you could share with us.
This is a passport photo for my trip to Europe with a Ural pass in hand at 17.
JB, that's why I love you. And I love that all of y'all shared some, and I will share some too. I'm looking at the chat right now and I'm like seeing some Duran Duran. I'm seeing some Bruce Springsteen. Yellow, right? Yellow. Mary J. Blige. Yes, nice. Okay, so let's open up the night. I want to open up with John Moses, probably the newest KCRW DJ on this chat tonight. You and Novena are our newest recruits into our craziness. And what I loved about the one is it's one that I know well from a dear friend of mine who has the exact same album. So what's up, John Moses?
Yeah, well, I feel like this is kind of a weird pick, but whatever.
No, it's not a weird pick. You know what? It's an actually overly hip pick. So I was slightly like, you're supposed to embarrass yourself a little. You actually chose a totally legit pick, right? Novena, you're all like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
It's so it's 2004. I guess I'm 14 years old at the time, and I'm just starting to get into collecting records, turntablism, DJing, beat making, and I'm lucky enough to have a best friend who's a couple years older than me and is always putting me on to what's new and hip and rounding out my taste in only a way that I guess a friend who's a couple years older can. And we're riding around in his Prius. I feel like all of my memories listening to music at the time are just being in a car doing nothing. But he puts on a record by two artists I'm vaguely familiar with, rapper MF Doom and rapper and producer Madlib together. They are Mad Villain. Their album Mad Villainy completely melts my brain into a pink goo and set off an obsession with this record that still exists to this day. Here we are talking about it. I think one thing that really gripped me about the album at the time is that I found it oddly relatable. A lot of the rap music I was listening to, whether it be, like Nas or Mobb Deep, talking about the struggles of living in the inner city, or, on the flip side of that, I'm going home, I'm turning on BET or MTV, and seeing music videos about excess, money, cars, and women, the latter especially relatable to me at 14. And MF Doom, on the other hand, is rapping about comics, sitcoms, film noir, all of these interests I have outside of music combined into one. And then on top of that, both MF Doom and Madlib are sort of cloaked in mystery. For those of you, I guess, don't know what MF Doom looks like, nobody else really does. He wears a metal mask.
Yeah.
Says he's a supervillain. He raps about his dastardly deeds. And on the other side of the record, Madlib, who made the beats, I'm a big fan of him at the time, but he doesn't have a lot of interviews out there. I know he smokes a legendary amount of weed, which at 14 I found very titillating.
So does Jason Bentley. Did you know that?
He has a record collection bigger than anybody else. He claims to make an album's worth of music a day, which is unheard of. And the samples he's using on this record are completely out there. You think of hip hop as using funk, jazz, soul, and he's pulling international soundtracks and video game sounds. I even have.
So, you got something. You have a visual aid.
They call me the carrot top of KCRW because I have props. So, he samples Atlantic Star. You got some 80s funk, avant-garde 60s electronic music from Steve Reich. And one of my personal favorites, Fever Tree, some psychedelic rock. So he's pulling from all these different sources.
Oh, but John, hold up for a second. You're a kid growing up you're from New Hampshire, Vermont. Where are you from?
Vermont, yeah.
Vermont. So you're driving around Vermont in your friend's car listening to Mad Villain.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I guess, a lot of my friends were probably listening to Fish at the time. That was the hot thing to listen to.
That's where I was going with that comment.
Yeah, if you're from Heinsberg or Charlotte. But, I think this record, tying it back into being a teenager, for one, it kind of gave me a roadmap referentially for collecting records and discovering music, but also, made me feel good about nestling into my identity as being a music lover, a serious music lover. Not all my friends were listening to this. This was this sort of strange outsider record from LA that I was able to, I could claim as mine at that time.
Is that why you ended up in Los Angeles?
Stone Throw is a big reason why any of this is happening right now. So shout out to them. If anybody saw, I guess, my photo that I posted, I was wearing a Stone Throw shirt properly representing this pick. So that just worked out.
I like that. Here's what I love is that I'm just getting to know you, and I like hearing from whence you come, because I listen to the music you play at KCRW, and I don't know, everybody's got this sort of strange place that they come from, strange and perfect and weird and awesome. And this is not, when I got your pick earlier today, I was like, huh? It just was not at all what I was expecting you to say. Does anybody here have just some reference to something that has nothing to do with you? Or do you respond to this actual album? Anybody? Does anybody here? I would love to see I'm looking. We do have a playlist to share, by the way, people. I'm looking at all of this. So, John, if you could recommend any track or any like if somebody wants to dig into this, because my dear friend and my stepson Nelson, he was seriously into this album. And what would you tell people to listen to? Give them one thing to listen to.
A song from this record.
Yeah, just people need a root in.
Yeah, of course. I would pick Great Day, which I think is one of the songs I chose for the play. I'm not sure if there's a playlist that went around, but I chose it for something. But, I think a lot of people, essentially the song is F Doom rapping over an interpolation of a Stevie Wonder song played by Madlib. And I think, at the time when I'm considering like DJ Premier or Pete Rock, Madlib, I'm thinking of these guys as sitting on a console and tapping out beats. But this is one of the few songs on the record where Madlib is playing all the instruments. And so I think kind of his array of musicality really struck me at that time. It's jazzy, it's light, it's fun. And then I think, if you like that and you're ready to take a step deeper into hell with this record, America's Most Wanted would be the next obvious choice. It samples that Fever Tree record I showed and features MF Doom and Quasimodo rapping about how much weed they smoke.
Yeah, well, outstanding. I like that. John Moses, thank you very much. I want to bounce around a little bit because I want to hear what everybody else is thinking. And I'm trying to look at the chat. So if I miss something, Aaron, Novena, Anthony, JB, John, hit me up. But Aaron Bird, you're up. Yes. And everybody, Aaron Bird, right? Is crushing it on MBE. Thank you so much while I've been out of town. Totally appreciate that. So Aaron Bird, you picked a great Mos Def album that I think a lot of people have in the Pantheon. Why? And when and what? And what's your story?
Well, this was the latter part of me being in high school, and I just think it was a great time to be in high school in particular because it was what I like to call the second golden age of hip hop. Maybe a year or two prior to that, Mos Def and Talib Kweli's Black Star album came out right around the time Things Fall Apart. There was a Common record that dropped. What else? A Busta Rhymes album. It was right around the same time as the whole Soulquarians movement. And this was really, really tough to dwindle down. Aquemini was in there on my list. But I guess ultimately, one of the things, jazz is my favorite genre of music. And one of the things that really resonated with me with this record was that Mos Def was and at the time for me was like the first MC that reminded me a lot of Rakim in the way that his delivery was very jazz influenced. And then also this was right around the age, I don't know about Black women, but Black men in particular, right around the age when you're about to go to college and early years in college, you start to really get interested in tracing back your genealogy. And so I was really Afrocentric at the time. And so the fact that he kicked off the album sampling a Fela Kuti track and what Fela stood for, and it happened to be Fear Not of Man, that just it just blew my mind. And then also the entire album is a narrative. I mean, obviously he's talking about his existence and what it means to be a Black man in society, but the entire album sort of is a narrative on, self-reflection, esoteric ideas, his place in the world and society, a look at culture and society as a whole, all things that I read about, I was very interested in and still am, frankly. And I mean, Mos Def probably will go down on my Mount Rushmore of MCs.
I like that you put him on Mount Rushmore. What is, who introduced you to that album? I mean, is that I'm just always curious about that because.
Yeah. I think he had a song, if I remember correctly, called Universal Magnetic a couple of years prior to that. Mm-hmm. And that's what introduced me to Mos Def originally. I think I listened to it on like the Wake Up Show maybe or something. It was something I listened to when I was younger, and I just loved this guy named Mos Def, and then because of that I was introduced to Talib, and when they came out the Black Star album, that just kind of blew my mind. And so ever since then I just followed his career and everything he did, and this whole album, I mean, it touches everything. As I mentioned, he samples Fela Kuti at the top of the record. He has a song, and if there was one I was to pick for someone to check out and listen to, it's a song called Brooklyn. And he raps over 3 different types of beats, one of which is a sample of the Chili Peppers' Under the Bridge. And then he just has an instrumental jazz song on the album to like close it out. And then he has like the Umi Says. I mean, Umi Says is like, he gives you everything. And I was so happy I got a chance to stick that into When They See Us. I got the blessing from Ava to stick that into When They See Us. But
and by the way, you guys, Aaron put together the music for that Ava DuVernay film, which is amazing, When They See Us. So thank you, Aaron, for that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Just for those of you who don't know, I don't need to be too inside baseball and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, we got to thank Ava. She knocked it out the park with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Aaron, here's my question. Did you have, when you were a kid, like an older kid? My best friend's older brother had all these albums that I couldn't believe he had. And some of them were actually horrible now that I know what they are, but it really was a gateway for me. Did you have somebody who was sort of your Sherpa, or were you just digging around yourself?
Just generally speaking, when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, like you've got sisters. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I have an older sister. Some of my earliest memories in life were with music. I mean, my mom getting us up early on a Saturday morning to clean up the house. My brother and I, we knew we couldn't watch cartoons too long. And so we would get up super early so we can get like an hour or 2 in, and then it was like to work. But every family event, I have a big family on my mom's side alone. I'm like one of 32 or 33 grandkids.
Oh.
Every family gathering, everything we sort of did around the house, there was always a soundtrack to it. So my mom was a pretty big Beatles fan when she was in high school. So I was vaguely familiar with the Beatles, but the era and time that I grew up in, there was a lot of like Sade and Michael Franks is what are the 2 sort of artists that I think of when I think of growing up. There was a lot of Sade and Michael Franks being played. Of course, the classics from, Luther. John was just holding up the Atlantic Star. I played Atlantic Star today, as a matter of fact, on MBE.
Nice.
Yeah, just the music was just always around. Yeah.
Well, AB, I'm not going to let you out of here without telling that one story you told to me back in the fall. Right before the holidays. So Aaron and I did this thing where it was sort of a pilot thing for KCRW. We were working on some music stuff. I think
what happened with that? Is that happening?
We're working on it.
Right.
But you told this amazing song because we asked DJs to tell us about a song that had an impact on them. And can you just quickly tell us that? Because I also want to open it up to all y'all out there, and I want to call on a few of you. So by the way, just prepare yourselves, because as soon as Aaron Bird tells you this story, I'd love for you to share your teenage album pick and a quick story. So what you want to do is go to the participant column and click the raise hand button, and then that raises, that little blue hand or whatever, and I'll call your name and unmute you. And I would love to get to as many folks as possible. So if you have something, think about it now. But Aaron, while our people are thinking,
tell
us that story, because I love that story.
Well, I'm at KCRW. We're eclectic, and I think people think of me as playing a lot of world music, which I certainly do. But if you were to ask anyone in my family what my favorite album is, they would tell you the soundtrack to Footloose. That was the very first album I ever got. And I don't know what it was about this little black kid from South LA that really resonated with some small farm town with Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
That you weren't allowed to dance in, but I mean, what can I say? Kenny Loggins had some hits, man. But yeah, there was just there was something about that Footloose soundtrack that really spoke to me for some reason. So like I got in trouble for dancing on the furniture when I was, I mean, that movie came out probably when I was like 3 or 4. But there was just something about it that just really resonated with me. So if you ask anybody in my family, they'll tell you that's my favorite album of all time.
Well, I think when we did that session where we talked about this for a feature we were going to do on KCRW, and you were bringing that in, and then you busted out Kevin Bacon and Footloose, I went, what?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, once again, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it even touches me.
You know what? I love it. I hope Kevin Bacon is on this call. All right, AB, and I want all you KCRW DJs to jump in here, and I want to see, I hope I don't screw this up, but I see that, is it, hold on, Elizabeth Gomez, are you here? Hold on. Oh no, you just floated away. Oh, there you are. Okay, Elizabeth Gomez, I'm unmuting you. Are you here?
Yes, we're right here. Hi.
Hi, thanks for coming on. So thank you for supporting and coming on tonight, and nice to meet you, and tell us.
Likewise.
Hi, who are you with?
I'll very quickly just say that we're actually sharing this, but we're both individual supporters of KCRW. But Neeraj, actually, he's the one who wanted to share his pick.
Oh, tell us.
So my pick from high school, and you can all guess how old I am from this, is Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. And I managed to get my immigrant dad to buy me a CD boombox, which was like an accomplishment, the most accomplished thing I did till I got a real job. And we went to Target and got ourselves a CD, the first one ever, of Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. And I had to tell my dad that CDs don't wear out, because I listened to it all the time as a misfit in high school, came home and listened to it, and it gave me good solace. And I was pretty sure at the time I was one of the very few people that actually liked that album, and especially Welcome to the Jungle, the first song off it. So yeah, music meant a lot to me. And
where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the South Bay in Hawthorne.
Okay.
LA.
What did your dad think about that when he first heard it?
I kept it on the DL. I only played with headphones on in my room mostly. Although, like Sweet Child of Mine got played on radio, so that was okay.
What about your friends? Were your friends also, were they a part of your tribe and rocking out with you?
I only had a couple of fellow rockers and metalheads in high school. Most people were more fans of either new wave, which I liked as well, or hip hop, which I also liked. But only a few people. So I definitely felt like a misfit as I was. And the Guns N' Roses, even though it was a multi-platinum album, I definitely felt somewhat lonely listening to it, but loved it nonetheless.
I love it. Thank you so much. And tell me your name again, because I missed it.
Neeraj.
Nice to meet you, and thank you guys for checking this out. All right, so I am gonna pick out somebody else. I have all kinds of people here. Miss Scarlett. Who are you, Miss Scarlett? Are you?
Hi. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
I'm so sorry. Listen, my name is Sarah. This is Kyle, but I only said Miss Scarlett because the last time I was on Zoom, I played Clue with some friends. So sorry.
That is amazing.
That's all. You know what? Just stick with it, because I called on you because I was intrigued by the name Miss Scarlett. So
this is Miss Scarlett's husband, Kyle. So
we raised our hand because I'm growing up in, I guess, late 80s, early 90s in Texas. I'm the son of a single mom. And so I also had to clean the house on Saturdays. and it was just the two of us, and we rocked that Footloose soundtrack. Where like all those songs are embedded in my head.
You know what, Mr. Scarlett? As soon as I saw you, I knew something was special about you.
And so my wife and I were just like staring at each other when it was like, oh my God, this is the thing. Because like whenever she wants to clean the house, I'm always like, we got to get the Footloose soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the only thing we wanted to share.
We were so excited.
But you know what? I think that's awesome. And Aaron Bird, you continue to touch you have your finger on the pulse.
It's Kevin Bacon and Kenny Loggins. I can't take the credit.
I like it. I like it. All right. So guys, I'm going to hit up, and I don't know how to mute you again, Miss Scarlett. So just don't talk too much. Or do. But I'm going to move at the moment, because this is one of these nights that we could just all talk for 3 hours, and I'll get in trouble if we do. So Anthony Valadez with the plants in your house. Where are you?
Yo, what's up?
So here's the deal. You're like the quiet storm. You've got your mic, you've got, although I don't know if there are plants in that equation, but what's up with the plants?
I mean, their life during these dark times, I find lights, and
You're just a knucklehead. What, you got a bunch of ferns in your...
I mean, it's life. Plants are everything. They're oxygen. They inspire me. And also I find, okay, so the plant daddy, no, it's Plantita Papi. I'm looking in the comments. Plantita Papi is the new nickname. You know, I'm used to DJing in clubs and reading rooms, and now I find myself reading plants. I look at them and I'm like, okay, you need more water, you need more light. So instead of rocking rooms and reading the crowd, I'm reading plants, and also my little puppy somewhere. Like my dog, I have to read.
Where's Smedley?
What are those plants telling you right now?
They're saying support KCRW. Do it now. 800-600 KCRW. That's what they're
Where's
saying.
Smedley though? Seriously, show us Smedley, and then we have to hear your...
He's sleeping. Let's talk about music. My dog is sleeping.
Okay. All right. So what do you have for us? What do you have for us tonight?
So my pick, shout outs to everybody in the chat room. I love this. Plantita Papi's in the house.
I know Plantita Papi is done.
Yeah. So growing up, right? I grew up listening to hip hop. I'm most deaf, all that Houdini. I mean, just as a kid, I was very curious about sound. I'd listen to KCRW at night. There was a guy named Michael Mixon Moore that blew me away. There were all these interesting programs, but I was really into Jodeci and like R&B soul and SWV. But somehow I got a single from Morrissey it was a single for Tomorrow. And there was something about that sound and the guitars. Now, traditionally and sonically, I was never really into guitars. I was always into samples and drums. And there was just something about Morrissey singing that I felt. And there was something about the strings, and even on the record, Your Arsenal, my favorite record that really got me through these years. There was something sonically happening. There were collages, there were ballads, and the ballads really spoke to me. At that time, I was raised by my grandfather, and like always getting in trouble in school, and culturally just being biracial, just not fitting in. And there was something there that when Morrissey would croon and he would sing about heartbreak and finding love and what is love, it just spoke to me.
Well, here's my thing that's interesting to me about Morrissey, because I was a big Smiths fan back in the 80s, and it touched me the way it touched you. You and I'm from the South, you're from Los Angeles. Like, what is that? What is it about Morrissey? What is it about that? Because I bought every single Smiths record, and I bet you did too, Jason, that I could get my hands on. Like, what is it about that?
I think everybody has their own connection. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what it is for everybody. I know for I know for a lot of Chicanos, it's kind of not fitting or assimilating into white America, but also not fitting into your parents who are immigrants and who are trying to push old ways on you. Mm-hmm. For white people, I don't know. Maybe you guys were just happy or sad. I don't know. But everybody has their own reason. And it's interesting because I had to hide my love for Morrissey because my friends would come in and they were rocking cross colors and, whatever. Like, it was just really aggro male energy. And I would be watching before school. Like, I'd be watching Morrissey live in Dallas on VHS, and I'd hear that knock on the door, and I had to hide the Morrissey because they'd be like, what is this? And I really couldn't explain it. It was just really beautiful. And then in doing my research, Mick Ronson produced the record, who's known for his work with David Bowie and many others, and it all makes sense.
It's what year did that album come out?
I think it was like 92 or 93.
Because because I was in the 80s listening to the Smiths. Did you go back and then find those other records?
I did after the fact. You know, everybody's raving about Johnny Marr, and I mean, they were really dark, but there was something about this specific record. It was his first solo record where he kind of had to prove himself. There were a lot of doubters about, you know, can he make it post Smiths? And he hit a home run with this record. And this is when like K-Rock really jumped behind him, and he did a live record for them, and that kind of blew up and kind of helped LA radio stations. I mean, he did a lot for a lot of people.
Sorry, I just got an Amber Alert for a tornado. Okay.
Tornado Tony, baby. That's what happened.
All right, we'll get back to the tornado in a second.
Okay.
That was
totally
funny
weird.
though.
Tornado
Anyway,
Tony.
Wow.
sorry, but I think I don't know. There's something about Novena. Are you a Smiths fan? Like, is that something you cared about or no?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Smiths didn't come into my interest at that time. I mean, in retrospect, yes, but not like when I was in high school.
I don't know. It was just such a big thing. And I bet it was John Moses. You got to weigh in. I need everybody to weigh in on the Smiths really quickly.
You know, I'm right there with Novena too. I think in all the ways Mad Villain made my teenage years, it also kind of ruined my teenage years in that I only listened to LA-based Stones Throw affiliated rap and all the samples that came from that. So I just never touched on the Smiths or.
I don't know. Well, then see, that's what interests me is that it can be such a big deal for Anthony, me, in totally different ways. And you guys are like, yeah, meh, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that's super interesting. All right, AV, stay with us. I want to move over to you, Miss Navina.
Hey, you know what? One time Anthony and I interviewed a guy that was in a Smiths cover band, right?
Yeah.
What was that called? The Tender.
The Sweet and Tender Hooligans.
Yeah, he was great. That was.
I mean, that guy's.
I learned a lot from that guy about why the Smiths are important. A lot that I've forgotten now, but at the time I was like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Didn't you like Mexercy? Camila Lara's?
No, I just like Morrissey. I like the real deal.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, back to me.
All right, back to Novena.
Okay, it's all about Novena right now. All right, Novena, what's your pick? I love your pick. What's your pick?
Yes. Okay. So this album, in retrospect, is not one that I really ever listen to now, but I was thinking, oh, what did I listen to? And then I was like, oh, but there was one that really got me through. That was just like, I mean, my teenage years were dramatic. Go figure.
Oh, wow. And none of ours were.
Yeah.
Ours were all fine.
These four women, my angels, they got me through it.
Yeah.
And I still have the CD cover and the rest of the CD somewhere. I have one of those black Case Logic cases where like I would put the CD cover in the back and then the CD on top. So I don't know where the rest is.
Yeah.
But so that came out in '99, Destiny's Child, The Writing on the Wall. With let's see, what hits were on there? Bugaboo, you know, Bills, 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 Hey Ladies, Say My Name. Lots of hits. And that was their like, you know, big hit album.
So where did you find that album? Like, were your friends listening to it?
You know, I think I worked at Warehouse Music at the time. Do you remember Warehouse?
Yeah. Warehouse.
Yeah. That was like a job I was really excited to have. I remember I applied for Skechers and Warehouse at the time, and then Skechers hired me first. Then I was trying to do double, like full-time and still go to high school. But anyways, I quit Skechers and I worked at Warehouse, and I probably got the album there. And anyways, the story behind it, though, is much more interesting. So I changed schools quite a bit when I was growing up just because we kept moving around, like throughout San Francisco. And then I moved to San Diego in the 10th grade. And to go from San Francisco, which was very like metropolitan, funky on the bus with like all ethnicities, to La Jolla in San Diego was a drastic culture shock for me. While I was still like figuring out who I was. And then my junior year, I got a boyfriend and I was like, yay. And we met through our love of like Bay Area rap music. And he was a DJ and his name was DJ Foreplay.
Oh, no. That's just everything about that is wrong.
He was 18 and that was his name. But that was the first red flag. But, you know, music took the cake in that situation. And anyways, long story short with that is that was just my first like love. And it was so dramatic where I found out that he was still with his other girlfriend the whole time. And I discovered it when I went to surprise him at work and he wasn't there, but he was in his like room, which was the garage at his house. And his girlfriend was in there and we were like screaming at each other through the garage door. And so, you know, it was really hard to like figure that all out. And I popped in Destiny's Child and all the songs, I mean, they're very like literal in a sense. It's like, you know, one song is called So Good. And it's like, I'm doing so good. And then it's like, you know, I'm doing fine. You thought I wouldn't make it, but I'm doing good. And another song is like, now that your girl doesn't want you anymore, you're going to come back to me. Like literally what I was going through. So I would go around in my hatchback Civic and just like scream the words to the songs. And then the album ends with like a beautiful rendition of Amazing Grace, just very like Destiny's Child, Beyonce style. And that just kind of like brought it to a close. And it's like, there's more possible. So
have you ever met Beyonce?
No, I haven't.
What would you say to her?
None of that. Who has the time? I mean, I might say some of that to her. If I like was sitting down with her, I might tell her, but I don't know if she would even really care. I'm sure a lot of people tell her stuff like that.
You know, I know, you're right. You're exactly right. She probably would not even care.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
I think the thing about it, when I heard about this album, Save My Teenage Years, I'm just basically mortified about an 8-year swath of my life, pretty much my entire life, but that particular 8-year swath of my life. So I love that you recreate.
No, I mean, the whole thing is horrible, but funny in retrospect. And that's kind of like also a thing to take moving forward. Like when you're having moments that can feel horrible at some point, there's a good chance it'll be funny. So just get through it.
Get through it, people. All right. So wait, I want to go back to you guys out here. So I'm gonna call on somebody. Raise your hand if you want to share something with us. And I see that Gabriel. All right, I'm gonna unmute you.
Hi, how's it going? Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Hi.
How you guys doing?
We're doing well. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is rad. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So bust it out. What do you have? What do you have to?
Yeah. So I'm the child of immigrants. My mom's from Cuba. My dad was from El Salvador. So, you know, we always had Latin jazz and like Fania All-Stars playing in the house. But, you know, being a teenager in the rebellious stage, I had to completely rebel. And I thought, what's more rebellious than pop punk music of the early 2000s, like Sum 41 and Blink-182 and Yellow Card and all of that. But really, and it's, you know, it's a guilty pleasure now, but really the one album was Pinkerton by Weezer, just like the seminal emo punk rock album that like the first CD I ever wore out, and still love them to death even.
Actually, I would argue that is an absolute classic, right?
Definitely. Oh, yeah. It still holds up.
Did your parents know you were sort of, now what do you think about their music now? The music that you grew up with? Are you now completely in awe of them, or?
Now I'm like doing such a huge deep dive and like going further than everything they ever listened to. And my dad gave me all his vinyls, so I've just been going through that collection now too.
See, I love that. I think that a lot of stuff comes out of parents who had vinyl, and my parents' vinyl was bananas and weird, but I think it kind of makes an impression. I love that you're going back and doing that deep dive. Did they give it all to you, or?
Yeah, I've got it all now, and it's like that's literally what I've been listening to for like the entire quarantine now, is like all of their vinyls.
I keep hearing people saying stuff like that. Everybody's doing deep dives into stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Gabriel, is that your name?
Wait, I have a question. What did you find in the collection that you were unfamiliar with, either as an artist or an album in someone's catalog that's like?
Yeah, I've been to Fania All-Stars has been the big one for me, just with Celia Cruz, going and like exploring those Cuban routes from my mom's angle. And actually a lot of Earth, Wind & Fire lately too. That was like my dad's favorite band, and just started really listening to every single album I possibly could. Not Latin jazz, but it's awesome.
Yeah, that's okay. It doesn't, it's an amazing one for me, which I might actually talk about later.
Nice.
All right, wait, hold on. I want to get somebody else. All right. Is it Ishana? Are you here?
Ashana.
Ishana, hi.
Hi. How exciting.
Nice to meet you. I don't know, you had your hand raised, so I thought you might have.
Well, my album, actually, I discovered it when I was like probably 5 years old. I grew up with two older brothers in Southern California, and I've literally told the story so many times. I'm a filmmaker, and I've literally said it in interviews and told the bassist of the band the story, but it's Tragic Kingdom by No Doubt. So like ska was really huge, but the crazy thing about this band was, so I am also first generation American. My parents are both from India, and like growing up, literally there were no Indians at all in anything. Like there was the guy in Soundgarden, there was Cal Penn, and then I was listening to this band. I was so obsessed with ska, like so obsessed with Gwen Stefani, the whole band. And then like my brother was like, oh, you know, Tony Kanal, the bassist, is Indian. And I literally turned to him and said, wait, is that allowed for a guy to be Indian in a band? Like that is how crazy.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So, yeah, that whole album, I didn't even know that they were dating at the time, Gwen and Tony. I found that out later, and like it made the whole story even grander in my head. And you know, he was like, he had those frosted blonde tips, and yeah, it was pretty cool. I got to I bring him up as an influence, a major influence in my life, in like every like filmmaking interview and stuff. But I got to tell him the story also, which was really cool.
Yeah, how did you meet him?
So he was playing a benefit with Moby to benefit some music nonprofit like a while back. And I can't remember, I like found out about it, and my friend and I just like kind of stopped by the venue, and he just came out, and I told him, and I was like, you know, this album carried me all the way from when I was 5 to now 28 years old, and it like meant so much to me, and you were like the only face we had, the only representation. So yeah, so it was pretty cool. He was like very happy to hear that.
That must be amazing. I think the thing that freaks me out, and I would love, actually, Bentley, I want you to address this, but I think that sort of meeting a hero or having a moment where something moves you so much, and then you find yourself transported into a reality where you maybe have a moment to talk to them. I know you've had that before, JB.
I mean, it can go horribly wrong. So
yeah, mostly it goes horribly wrong, right?
I don't advise it, you know, because also you've built that person up so much that it's impossible for them to, you know, meet the hype. But yeah, I mean, I have had the pleasure of meeting a lot of my musical heroes for sure.
Do you get tongue-tied?
Well, oftentimes I'll have an assignment, and you know, it's part of a job, you know, as an interviewer and broadcaster, so I can focus on that. But
what if you, Jason, have you ever like walked into, I don't know, someplace in Los Angeles, it could be a club, a restaurant, a grocery store, and you run across Morrissey or whoever it is? Have you ever had that? And just
I've got a great story that I'll just try and make quick, but way back I worked for Chris Blackwell, Island Records. I had a label called Mongo. Yeah. And we were invited to dinner at Chris Blackwell's apartment in Miami. We were there for some reason. And he didn't tell us, but he invited Bono to join us. And Bono and his wife joined us for dinner. And I was probably 24 or 25 at the time. And we're having seafood, and I really hadn't had a lot of seafood in my life. We're passing a joint around, and Bono produces their new album on a CDR, you know, as sort of a test pressing. And he says, here, put it on. This is the new album. And I quickly realized this was Bono presenting the new U2 record for the first time to the label owner, Chris Blackwell. And we just happened to be there. All the while, Blackwell is pumping me up, saying that I work at radio in LA and KCRW, and I worked at K-Rock at the time. And so kind of setting me up as someone who could, judge him, which obviously I'm a 24-year-old kid. I didn't want to be in that position. So first of all, a weird thing, like remember when you'd play CDs and there'd be something wrong with the CD and it sound like a butterfly skip? Like that started to happen. That started to happen. And so we're kind of like freaking out because it's awkward and it's important that we listen to the CD. So anyway, we figured it out. We fixed it. We played it through. This was the album.
Yeah, what album was it?
Pop?
Yeah.
It had Lemon and Discotheque. And at the time, U2 was sort of rebranding themselves as almost like a dance act, right? So I started to realize that it wasn't the U2 that I liked or loved, Joshua Tree U2, and that I kind of didn't like what I was hearing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm feeling lightheaded. We had, just smoked weed. I excuse myself and go over to the window to get some air. And Bono immediately comes over to join me at the window.
I feel like seafood is going to play into this story.
Right. So he's like, hey, Jason, you're out at KCRW and K-Rock, so what'd you think? And first I said, excuse me, Bono. I went to the bathroom and I totally threw up. Just, put water on my face and kind of felt a little better, went back out, rejoined him at the window. And I said, Bono, I didn't like it that much. I feel like it's not the U2 that I know and love. And I also used a specific expression in my conversation with him that I still have to this day as the name of my record label and corporation is Secret Technology. I said, Bono, electronic music is a secret technology. It's not something you can just put on like a new sequin disco outfit, And he was actually so lovely about it. He thanked me for being so honest and frank. And we parted on great terms, Of course, I felt terrible after that.
I was going to say.
I came back home and I told my friends the story. I told my dad. It was, my dad's like, oh, my son told Bono exactly what I felt terrible. And so fast forward like 2 years later, now I'm working at Maverick Records, Madonna's label. I'm in London at the Metropolitan, which is the swanky hip. I'm like the cool A&R guy at Maverick. I'm like 30 pounds overweight, totally miserable, making a ton of money. And I go down to the Met Bar, which is the exclusive bar downstairs in the Metropolitan, and I see Bono. And I'm like drunk and like obnoxious and I hate myself. And I just go straight up to Bono and I'm like, Bono, it's Jason. You'll never remember. But anyway, we were at Chris Blackwell's place and I told you I didn't like the album and I just really feel bad about that, man. I feel terrible. And he kind of took pause and looked at me and he goes, come here, Jason, come here in for a hug. And he hugged me and he said, it's all right. It's all right. And I was like, yes, redemption. And so I went up to my room and collapsed on the bed and I was like, I made amends with Bono. I felt terrible for 2 years.
You've never told me that story.
It's a good one, right?
I thought I know a lot of your stories, but that's good. And I like the Secret Technology.
Yeah, and that's actually a label I just launched.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
It had been my corporation name for consulting and stuff ever since then, but I only just recently put it out as a label.
Well, so that brings me actually to you and Secret Technology, because I love the piece that you just put out, the Peter Gabriel cover Kate Bush song that you just put out, which maybe you can share.
Yes, spoiler alert, drum roll. My pick is Peter Gabriel's So. I just turned 50 last month, so we have to go way back in time. I feel like everyone else's choices are fairly contemporary, but
Happy birthday. Mine isn't.
We're going to look into this crystal ball and go back into time. So yeah, so Peter Gabriel.
So set the scene, my friend.
So it's 1986, 1987. The reason I chose this is it's at the intersection of many things that were hugely influential in the years to follow. We're talking about this person at the time, 17-year-old Jason Bentley, and this is the exact person that started volunteering at KCRW at that time.
Liza Richardson, just as a sidebar, described the Jason Bentley that started volunteering at KCRW, and it was very entertaining.
Yeah,
you had long black hair.
Well, there were various iterations
of Jason Bentley. All right.
But yeah, I was working in the main office answering phones, and then moved to the music library, and eventually Chris Doritas gave me an air shift at night. But anyway, that album represents a few important currents, because it's progressive rock meets world music, which at the time was very, very trendy. And Tom Schnabel, who was the music director at that time, his signature sound was world music. And so Peter Gabriel kind of represented on a mainstream level some of those interesting undercurrents. Paul Simon as well that year, because Graceland came out that same year. And actually, Graceland beat Peter Gabriel's So for Album of the Year Grammy.
Wait, was that the same year?
Yeah, in 1987. They were both nominated, and Graceland won. But more than that, Peter Gabriel went on to be such an advocate for world music through the Real World label and studios, through the WOMAD Festival, and through various projects to follow. But that album did feature, Youssou N'Dour from Senegal and West Africa. There were Brazilian and African influences, but also, a very progressive, a prog rock sound, and innovative synthesizers and rhythmic textures and things like that. And also, it's such a great album. And I feel that that's a lost art these days in the streaming world and the digital space and algorithms and everything. This was such a great kind of, from start to finish, from the very beginning where you hear Stuart Copeland's percussion, Red Rain coming in, all the way to In Your Eyes, which is the closer. It's a great album listen, and that is kind of a lost art.
I have a question for you, Jason. How did you find this record?
Well, it was hugely popular. I just picked up on it probably later than most people. It was my introduction to Peter Gabriel at the time. I didn't really know him. I came to appreciate his back catalog afterwards. But he had this amazing pedigree in rock circles, putting out his own albums, being part of Genesis early days. So I think my roommate in college, no, it would have been before that. Well, yeah, it just was very much in the mainstream of things in the US.
Yeah, it's funny how we find those things. Let me ask you guys a question. I'm putting this out to everybody, and I want to ask a couple more of you about some albums you love, because I have a bunch of people here raising their hands. But for me, I learned about music kind of out of order. It's only been in my adult life that I've discovered music chronologically. It was sort of as a kid, it's like, oh, the Beatles, that was a long time ago, but oh, the Pretenders are now, or oh, Prince is now, and this was I just discovered it all out of order. Like AB, talk to me.
What's the question?
I have no chronological, there's a certain point, sort of pre-1980, I have zero chronology. I mean, I do now as an adult, but.
I think it's the exact opposite for me. I think when I was younger, I probably discovered music more chronologically. Now, I probably, since I've been at KCRW, probably been going back more than ever before.
True.
Yeah, I think also when you find people who worked on records, like for instance, that Morrissey record, I had no idea who Mick Ronson was as a kid, but that made me search into his production and then helped me find the Smiths. So in a lot of ways, it is backwards.
It's been completely backwards for me. So I'm always wondering about that. Like when you talk about Peter Gabriel, Jason, and where that comes from and how you have a roommate or you have I don't know, somebody who brings something to your attention. You're like, oh, I didn't know about that. No, I didn't know about that. And I don't know. So I never, by the way, know what year anything came out because I just have no concept of that. Novena, I love your.
What's so interesting about this this theme and this topic, and I think the reason why we've heard so much response and answers and participation on it, it kind of touches a nerve because it's those teenage years that you are just so impressionable, and you're searching for your identity. You're trying to figure out who you are, and in that way, music saves, to connect to our title for this evening. Music is that guiding light for so many people, and that's why. And as soon as we put out the idea for this get together, everybody was like contributing their, oh, here's mine, and they're impossible to narrow it down to just one. And it's just because at that time in your life, you have such a voracious appetite for music, you just are trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah. It's really true. And I'm looking at the chat right now. Like if I stop at the beginning, I'm looking at Elvis Costello, Metallica, Amy Winehouse, Music Got Me Through My Youth from Christina, Fiona Apple. Let's see. Wait, hold on. Going back, Losing My Religion, that Losing My Religion video, right? Wow. Rush, Oracular Spectacular, right? Avalon by Roxy Music. It's just sort of, I feel like Aztec Camera, Simone, hello. I heard Oblivious when I was in college and I was like, what is this? Anyway, I'm just sort of fascinated because I think you're right, Jason. It affects all of us in such different ways. Can I take it out to the audience here for a second? Audience, I don't know. Is that the right word? Nita. Is it Nita? Sir Gordon? Netta, excuse me, forgive me. Hi, where are you?
I don't know if she's there. I just know how to pronounce her name.
Oh, Netta. That was you, Novena. Okay, is Netta there?
I don't know.
If Netta's not there, I'm going to move on. Okay, how about Mandy?
I'm here. Hello.
Oh, wait, Netta, hi.
Hi, how are you? I didn't unmute.
Hi,
what's up? Novena and I went to college with her.
We went to college with Netta.
Yes,
I went
with Aaron and Novena. I spent my, older teenage years to young adult years in college with them, and Novena was actually my college roommate. So I would hear her singing and bopping around a lot. So I'm excited to be on here.
Well, tell us yours then.
One of my favorite albums, I'd say, is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I think that album was one of the most important and impactful albums of our time. It was her debut album as a solo artist. I'm a big Lauryn Hill fan. She had just come off of doing her album with the Fugees. It was called The Score. And of course, she did like a very stellar performance on Sister Act, if anybody remembers that. She just kind of killed it. But the album was great. I mean, I still think she's one of the best female rappers of all time. And the album was great because it showed, her range. She's a wonderful singer. She's a beautiful singer. Her voice sounds like honey. She's a great rapper. Her lyricism is always very socially conscious. And that album in particular just kind of, it was called The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, but I was more of an educational album, I guess, like in terms of love and life. And she still performs, and she still performs songs from that album. I don't know the technicalities of what happened, but I think she got into some sort of a lawsuit with Columbia Records where she couldn't perform the songs as they are on the album. So she sort of raps and sings the music, but the words, but the music is set to something else. So
yeah,
that's my album.
I
Great
love
pick,
it.
Netta.
It's a really good pick and one I love as well.
Yeah.
Can I, I'd love to ask one more person who I see. Mandy, I was about to call on you. Mandy Ingber, are you here somewhere, Mandy?
Hi, can you hear me?
Where are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm nervous that you called on me, but I'm glad you called on me too.
We had your hand raised, sister. I had to like.
I know. So it's not typical, but so I'm older than all of you. I'm 52, and I grew up in Los Angeles, but I went to do a play in New York when I was 15, and it was 1983. And when I went to New York, my parents ended up splitting up, and my mom came to New York, and we were arguing all the time. And MTV was new, and so they would have like certain songs on heavy rotation, and we were both obsessed with Sting. So Every Breath You Take, that video would come on, and that whole album, Synchronicity, was like really what got me through. But it was like we would be in the middle of an argument, screaming at each other, and Every Breath You Take would come on the radio, and we would just stop. And it was like the pause reset for like everything, and then we didn't go out to the argument. So for me, the album Synchronicity, and particularly the song Every Breath You Take, was like this Pavlovian, reset button for my, my angst, basically, marriage falling apart.
Mandy, what did you think when Puffy sampled it for that song? Do you remember that?
Oh, what was that song?
Every Breath. It was for Biggie when he had. What did you?
You know what? That's not my favorite. Like, I love sampling, and I like when I like mixes, but that wasn't my favorite, to be honest with you. I don't know why. It made the rap too soft. I don't know if that makes any sense.
People don't always realize that the Police at that time were the biggest band in the world, hands down.
Yeah. So they were all those albums, Outlandos to Amor and Regatta de Blanc, those were all amazing albums. I also just want to add to this conversation that what I love about what you guys were talking about earlier was it's the discovery process. Like for me, music, it's the discovery process of music for each individual. And that's what I love about it. We all have our own unique ways of discovering music. So whatever way that is,
Well, it's all totally, when I had to try to put together my list for this, the way I discovered each and every album on my list was random, weird, and kind of serendipitous. Mm-hmm. So I think that's how it happens a lot of times. It's almost time to wrap up. I think
you're up, Ann. Have you
shared
yet?
I was gonna hide. Because basically, Jason, and by the way, so Jason and I had a chat about this on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and he and I both were heavily affected, but this isn't my pick, and it wasn't yours either, Jason, but he and I both have this affinity for the Who, which is sort of mortifying and awesome all at the same time. And, right, Jason?
Yeah, no, without a doubt, Quadrophenia for me was a huge record.
Same, I know, but anyway, Jason and I have always had this sort of thing about the Who. But anyway, I had to narrow mine down, and the sad thing about my choice is that it's a greatest hits collection, because back when I discovered this album, I didn't know what a greatest hits collection was. I just thought it was the album, which was Earth, Wind and Fire. It was volume 1.
Yeah, that is awesome.
You know what I'm talking about? The red one with the gold,
Yeah, I have that record, yeah.
Yeah, of course. But I thought that was an album, and my best friend, or one of my best friends in high school, who had a Betamax, or she was the first person to have anything that had videotape or you could replay it, and she got the live video of Earth, Wind and Fire doing that album, and we literally spent every weekend night of my sophomore year in high school in her basement watching that over and over and over again. I know every word to every song on that album, and so if I hear and then Philip Bailey, it's like the reasons, Anyway, that
Keep
Wait,
going.
two questions, Ann. What's your
Yeah.
favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire song?
well, September. That's easy.
September, okay. And
Yeah,
then
I mean I know
and-
that's the obvious choice, but and also fantasy.
It's not obvious. There's a lot of jammers on there.
There's
Yeah.
so many jammers.
Yeah.
yeah, but you picked two up-tempo ones. Huh? That's interesting. Okay.
Well,
But-
no, I
but-
mean, okay.
No, the other question is, I hope you don't mind me saying, Ann lives near the Hollywood Bowl, and Earth, Wind, and Fire does a show there every summer. So are you just going crazy, or do you actually go to the bowl?
No,
to watch?
well, sometimes I do, but the thing is, the beautiful thing about where I live in Hollywood is I can hear the bowl. So I've heard Earth, Wind, and Fire there a ton of times. But here's my thing, AB, and it's sort of like worship your heroes from afar. I don't know that I want to see Earth, Wind, and Fire now because
No, you got to see them. Yeah.
Yeah?
You got to see them. Yeah.
I got to do that. Okay.
You got to do that.
Well, can I also say the other thing, just to thoroughly embarrass myself, is the other album I was going to pick was Foreigner 4. Yeah, 3 people on here know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that was, I don't own it. I didn't have it at the time, but there were these kids painting my neighbor's house that were older than me, and they kept blasting it the whole summer. And, I thought they were cool.
Were they hot?
Yes, they were.
I knew it. I knew that's what was memorable.
It was I can remember what they looked like. They had these ladders and the buckets of paint, and my girlfriend, my next door neighbor, and I would sort of walk around and see if they needed some iced tea. And it was a whole thing.
That's usually how it starts. And then DJ
Right.
Foreplay
The
comes
old
out with the
iced tea.
tunes.
DJ Foreplay.
DJ
Yay,
Foreplay.
Foreplay! Yeah, that may have been the best moment of tonight, you guys.
Shout out to DJ Foreplay.
Yeah, big shout. And a giant shout to all of you. I mean, y'all, here's the thing. I'm looking to see what I'm supposed to tell all of you guys, because I could keep talking, but it's 10 minutes after 8 and everybody's yelling at me to stop from behind the scenes. But thank you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we're going to dig deeper. I have a lot of follow-up questions for you, my fellow DJ brothers and sisters. And I also want to thank HBO Max, who is our premier partner for Summer Club. And you can check out more events at kcrw.com/Summer Club. Also, y'all, we made a Spotify playlist. But what I'd like to say to our events team who's on the call or on the thing right now, I would love to, I'm watching all these comments. Can we save these? I would love to make a Spotify playlist of everybody's comments here, because this is all like Twisted Sister. Maybe we can leave that one off, but going through them, they're kind of amazing. So maybe we can make a Spotify playlist of all of your ideas. So anyway, thank you.
I hope to see everybody at some time very, very soon at KCRW events in real life, please.
I know, please. I'm not actually at KCRW. This is just one of those background things because mine is boring, but Anthony, bring some ferns. Novena, bring a disco ball. John Moses, bring some rap.
I'll bring a positive attitude.
Bring a positive attitude. Aaron Bird, what's your background before we leave?
Oh, this is the Amazon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Bring the Amazon. And all y'all, it's sort of like I've been scrolling through all y'all tonight. Thank you for doing this with us.
Yeah, thank you,
Oh, wait.
everyone.
Thank you.
Hold on, wait. Shout. Hi, who's that? JB?
This is Bacchus. His most influential record is Love
Cass
by The Cure.
Bacchus is looking a little big there.
He is big. Yeah, he's part Bengal. He's part Bengal tiger.
Also shout to Tia Bentley. I see you, Tia.
Is Tia here?
My mom's here.
She's here. Yeah, Jason's mom is here. So fortunately, you didn't really say anything crazy.
Oh, she's here for Aaron Bird.
Hi, Tia. Thank you. All right, guys, thank you all so much for coming. And let's do this again sometime. And let's make a compilation of all the songs in the chat because there's some great ones. I didn't get to call on everybody. So thank you.
Nice job, Ann. Thanks.
Be well, be safe, everybody. Stay home, wear a mask.
Much love, everybody.
Love you.
Yeah.
Love you madly.